Hello and welcome to my first realistic battle tank review. And today I'll have a look at the T92, which is an American tier 4 6.7 battle rating light tank. It sits between the Walker Bulldog and the M55-1 Sheridan. It is one of the smallest tanks within War Thunder, and that reminds me a lot about the playstyle that you need to play it of the ASU-57, the Russian light tank destroyer, so to speak. Now, before I go too deep into the tank review, first of all, I will show you two gameplays where I had a ace match on Kursk and also a 7-kill game on Karelia. And it will highlight the good and bad sides of this tank. And in my opinion, there are too much bad sides, as that the good sides of this tank can, overcome the bad stats, so to speak. Now, let's first have a quick look at the armor, and it is good enough to stop machine gun rounds from the side, the rear, and the front alike. And let's have a quick look at the inside. We have 3 crew members on one side: the driver, the gunner, and also the loader, with the commander sitting lonely on the left side. Now also we can see that the transmission and the engine are mounted in front of the vehicle, and all the fuel tanks and the ammunition, of which you have 60 rounds, are located in the back of the vehicle. Then we also have this 76mm T185E1 cannon, which is kind of similar to the Walker Bulldog's T32 gun, I guess. It is in fact M32 cannon. So also we have a 50 caliber machine gun and a 30 caliber machine gun. Let's have a quick look at the modifications in that order. You should research the parts. You really need them, like the tracks. And then you should go for the fire prevention system, the adjustment of fire, and that is necessary so that you can unlock the tier 3 upgrades, of which you should research the M33-1A2 shot as soon as possible. This shell is what you really need to make the best out of this tank. After that, you should go for all the mobility upgrades, the engine, transmission, and filter upgrades before you research the elevation mechanism, then the horizontal turret drive, and the last 4 upgrades are the suspension, the brake system, the heat shell, and the artillery support. Now, of the 3 mobility upgrades, you should go for the engine first, as it gives you 20 horsepower for 16,000 research points, which is better than going for the transmission and filters, which combined would cost you over 30,000, but give you the same amount of horsepower together than for the engine. So, those are the modules. Then now let's have a look at the firepower, and that is that you at first have the M319 shot, which is an APCR shell, and it is one of the worst shells within War Thunder tier 4 for such a tank. It bounces on a regular basis on the slightest angles, or it just doesn't go through. The HE shell, which you also get stock, just does have 12mm, and due to the low caliber nature of the gun, it is not really that useful. Then the APDS shell, the M331A2 shell, finally is something that you can kill enemy tanks with, more or less reliable. APDS shell, as you will have known by now, or as you will know by now, is my second favorite type of ammunition within the game. 232mm of penetration. That penetration wise sits somewhere between the German Long 88 with their stock APHE shell and the Russian 100mm upgraded APHE shell. So it's not too bad actually, and it plays in the same battle rating region as those two guns that I just mentioned. So then you also can research the M496 shell, which is an heat FS shell. Now to this day I haven't researched it, but from what I see on the stat card, it wouldn't give me any real benefit over the APDS shell. It will give me a better penetration of just about 500 meters, and this tank is more or less a short range ambush weapon. So yeah, and also firing through concealment is not possible with heat shells. So I think the APDS shell is the best kind of shell you should use. Then let's talk a little bit about the mobility, and as we can see here in realistic battles, this tank just does have a little bit of 20 horsepower per ton, and that's after all the upgrades. And before those upgrades, your speed is nothing short of bad. It is the definition of bad before all the upgrades. You can't get away from heavy tanks speed-wise. Your acceleration is bad, and your ground resistances, you know, your different performances on different kind of underground, is just diabolically bad. And you rarely will see your top speed of 57 kilometers an hour. It drives more like a heavy medium tank. And I wasn't surprised after the first few battles to see that I can't get into ambush position before the enemy heavy tanks are on the cap circles. So it's really not that good. With the upgrades, it's probably best to say that it is good enough. It is really that bad. And also your traverse speed is diabolically bad, which reminds me of the T95 in realistic battles. It's really that bad. Yet I have to say that the tank overall is kind of fun because you can feast on noobs. That's the best description that I have for you. You feast on noobs. Any enemy player that does have a slight knowledge of how you should play tanks will overwhelm you by brute firepower, or when you have one bad shell, you're done. I had cases where I hit the ammo rack of T44 perfectly on. When I ambushed him, I blackened it out and I hit nothing else, sadly. And then he knew that I was there and I couldn't do anything except for waiting for one of my teammates to just taking care of him after I made him pay attention to that there is an enemy T44. So, I think that's enough theory crafting. Let's just see how the gameplay is that I'm about to show you. So, welcome to Kursk, and Kursk is a map that I haven't played in a very long time. In fact, this is, I guess, the first time in those, 2 days of playing RB that I got the map. And when first ground forces came out, I was very impressed with the size, but now we have all those additional, houses or small villages, so to speak. And what you can see here now is the maximum of speed you can get out of this tank. And the slightest adjustment of direction and you will drop dramatically in speed. And, a lot of tanks have comparable speed. I think I have no real advantage in speed here over a Panther or a T44, so to speak. Or a Panther 2, to be honest. Just with a few kilometers, and at this point, I'm racing over open ground with a relatively high speed. So, and as you can see, I'm slowing down like nothing. This is full power with all the upgrades you just saw in the garage or the hangar. And I'm just accelerating very slowly, again braking down after a little bit of adjustment. Now we have hard terrain again, or yeah, it's let's say medium terrain, and I'm just holding 30 kilometers an hour, a slight adjustment, and again I'm slowing down, and there seems to be so much drag on those narrow tracks. It's amazing. Now I'm going here into a very wide ambush, and at this moment I try to make my first spotting using the house to conceal me from any, spotting from the cap circle by any enemy campers. Then I see this enemy tank, and I just want to get a bit closer. I watch the surrounding as I saw that he doesn't pay any attention. And around about now I see this friendly M46, and then I finally decide to take a shot at this guy. First one hits the engine, which was kind of a lucky shot, and then I get shot at, and I did not know by what, and I was really surprised by the high rate of fire, but it couldn't be a AAA, right? I fire on the move, hit him, but just on the tracks, and then I prioritize this guy, and it just shows how little I know about this map, that I did not know that it was a bot. I had an idea. The ISU 122 still burns, and so I focus on the KV-1. Now with that out of the way, I can focus on this tank, but he was taken out earlier. I didn't see the combat message, and I made sure with firing my machine guns on him. And it's so realistic that you shoot at an enemy tank with machine guns and then he just blows up, right? Yeah. Then I simply know that that I don't have any business being here. I don't have shots at anybody anymore, I guess. And so I drive up, and there you can see how many light tank is within this light tank. It's really not that good. It's not the maximum inclination, this shell, yeah. Is it the Star of Bethlehem or what? I don't know. So, again, I roll up. I watch the surrounding or the vicinity of the M46. Then I see this tank here. At this moment I was quite sure that it is a bot. I aimed too high, and again I didn't see that he was taken out by a Panzer IV. And just as he burns, yeah, then I see this burning tank, and then I look around at A. I see nothing. Nothing. Look around. And it's around about now that I saw this this dirt cloud from a shot. I pre-aim and try to get over this long, big ridge. And then I see this tank and I know this is a player. One shot, that's all it takes. I take out my counterpart, so to speak, the Russian PT-76. Then I look at A, and I wanted to fall into the back of the enemy team, but now I'm in a very strange position. I see this AAA truck and try to take him out. Effectively, I am between the enemy spawn and the enemy front line, but without any concealment. I see the next AAA tank. I mark him with the machine guns. He hits me and takes out my engine, but the engine prevents me from any further damage. So I concentrate on the ZSU 37 and make a double strike. So that's my third kill so far, right? So not too bad. I'm in the open, I'm repairing because one simple shell killed my engine. And that's a bit bad side. Now I see this this IS-2. I know that's mod 1944 because of the additional armor. One into his engine, setting him on fire. I try to aim a little bit higher, but the shell goes low. Another shell, and I hit the turret again. No adjustment again. And finally I make the connecting shot into the back of the turret, blowing up the ammo rack. That's my fourth kill. So now I try to get away from the spawn and to advance into A. Again, I have no real experience on this map, so I just follow my instinct and try to get closer to ambush enemy players into a knife fight. So, but then we have the problem that I didn't pay attention to the kill messages because the M18 just took out this ASU-57. I just saw him just before he was killed. And again, the tank didn't smoke or anything, and I didn't pay too much attention to the minimap because then I would have known that this tank was a friendly AAA. But then the marker pops up and I see it. So my spotting skills are on point. Yeah. And I just drive around. And at this point I assume that the enemy team was wiped out with a little bit of help from me. So with I think this IS-2 kill, I broke the enemy's neck here on the middle village with the cap circle. So I just drive blindly into the enemy's cap circle, fearing no consequences. 4 kills in this tank. I think I did alright. I see that an ISU-122 took down an F6F. I doubt that it was with the main gun. I played the ISU-122s and all the advantages that you have in a T-34 you just simply don't have in an ISU-122. I think they are some of the worst Russian tanks within the game. They are slow and have flat armor, and the armor is not thick enough. You have no gun depression. Have I mentioned that they are slow? They are really painful to play in arcade. Then I see those 2 tanks. I actually assume that both are bots. The first kill tells me that I'm right. Second shot at this T-34 and I'm a little bit higher. A crit into the turret. Then I try to change position and then a bounce of the upper hull, so to speak, or a non-penetration, with the next shell killing him with a shot into the turret, taking out the gunner. So then I see that this ISU-122 just didn't pay any attention. I saw that he was hit in the side. I aim for where I know that I can do a lot of damage. The right hand side of the front is not just a big but also a flat target, as I just told you. Just machine gunning a little bit around. At this moment I'm pretty relaxed. I have 5 kills. I have my tank ace. What else can you wish for? So let's have a quick look at the post-battle result screens, shall we? And we can see that for 9 kills, 5 players and 4 bots, I got 48,000 silver lines and 3,569 research points. Yeah, then I was first in place with 1,470 score points, and that was the first battle. So let's go on with the next battle, shall we? So for the second battle, I'm here on Karelia, and I will show you a position that is so dumb it had simply to work. I knew about this position, but I did not know that you can actually actively really use it in battle. I have to thank my friend Exe for showing me it within the E100 event, as we try to give each other tips for positions and locations. And so I drive within the middle of the map, and you won't believe what happens next. So I drive upon this little hill, which is a slope, which lets me drive onto this bunker, and there I can actually use my 10 degrees of gun depression to its full maximum. So I expect a tank coming around this corner, but it wasn't to be. So after a while, I just switch positions. A few seconds later, and I see this Kugelblitz, one into him, taking out the gunner and hitting the ammunition which doesn't blow off, and a second one into the front of the tank, killing the remaining crew members. I see this, what I thought was a T-44-100, but I didn't do enough damage to kill him or immobilize him. And I just wait into this position, and you know, I'm here practically visible for everybody, and just people that don't pay attention will get punished by me. Now at this moment I think that the T-44 has seen from where he was shot, as he points the gun into the raw direction. I see that he is behind a tree and one into the tracks. So then I saw this other tank, you know, going up the slope. I thought that he has spotted me, but he is in a close engagement with another T92. And then one critical hit as I take out the driver. After this SU-122 took out my friendly T95. The next shell goes into the ammunition, blowing the tank up. So at this moment I was really baffled about, you know, how less the enemy paid attention than I anticipated. I see this T-44 and just managed to hit the transmission and the radiator, immobilizing him. And I was not sure if the enemy tank had enough gun elevation here, but it doesn't matter. I see a T-54 and I blow him up with a hit into ammunition rack. So then I tried to figure out if this guy had enough gun elevation. I was not quite sure. I hesitated a little bit, and then I thought to myself, whatever, just try it. And I drive a little bit forward so that the tank whips forwards after I checked out where this Kugelblitz was. So just managed to not fall off, and one shot into the turret takes out the turret drive, and the next shell goes straight into the ammunition rack. This time the ammunition rack worked with blowing up. Then I thought I've camped enough, and I tried to hunt down this Kugelblitz. And I pre-aim there as he is busy with an airplane. I don't watch where I'm going, and goodbye. Yeah. That was the only noob trap in the vicinity. Guess where I landed. So I traverse around, and then there begins a long, you know, wiggling and toggling around as I try to make it up again. I'm not up again, but I saw that this Kugelblitz didn't pay any attention. I mean, you really couldn't expect anybody here. And I waited until he got forward enough. I tried to immobilize him, but I didn't make it, and the second shell did no damage. So after a few minutes of derping around, I finally made it through the rocks, and I tried to go up this slope, tried to aim at this Kugelblitz, and just as I pull the trigger, I immobilize a friendly M19 in front of a ZSU-37. And then I shoot the driver and the transmission alike by shooting up through the lower plate. Now I know he's immobilized, but I'm not quite sure if any other tank is around in the vicinity, and I was not sure what this explosion was there, so I had a look up until the smoke cleared up. I don't know who this guy is shooting at, but it's not of his, I assume, not of his teammates, so I set him on fire by shooting the engine and killing the driver again. And he extinguishes the fire, so let's have another go. I tried to shoot through the side there, but all I do is blow off the tracks. And there you can see how bad the 20 degrees of gun elevation are. I tried to shoot the, you know, the bottom plate, but it just ricochets off. And then another shell. Finally, I set the engine on fire for the second time and kill the driver again, so he bails out, securing my 5th kill. So I tried to get in near the enemy spawn to get a few kills. I have 5 kills now, so whatever I do I did my job, so to speak. Then I see this King Tiger. I try to get into position, but he gets taken out by an M46 Patton. I tried to also help out this T92, which at the moment tries to cap. So I see this AAA firing and try to ambush him, so to speak. Then I see that this King Tiger spawns there. For a moment I thought he has seen me, but then he shows the broadside of his turret to me. I was not quite sure if he is already down from his spawn protection, but a hit from somebody, you know, tells me that his spawn protection is over, and a second shell into the turret kills him. So, my 6th kill. At this moment I was really happy about my performance, but there is still a AAA to kill. So I go forwards, he's behind the rock, and then I see him burning, and another shell right into the crew compartment, and this is my 7th kill. So, that's the battle. After that nothing happened anymore. So let's have a quick look at the post-battle results. And as you can see, for 7 player kills, I just got 43,000 silver lines and 4,117 research points, unlocking the filter. And player statistics tell me that I'm just 3rd with 1,688 score points. So, yeah, so that's the T92 for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and see you next time on the battlefield.